All right, and we are live.
Woo! All right, Mark. Hi, everybody! Hi. It's 3:01 and my stopwatch isn't working, so I'm just going to write down the time. OG, old-fashioned style.
Yes, write down the time.
I'm a stage manager. This episode, you're going to learn about us. So how about that I'm a stage manager for theater, and so all the intros and stuff is me living that life while we're in quarantine. So, oh hey, now you're going to work? Nope, still not going to work. Everything, my Stream Deck is
I started
mine.
I started my stopwatch just for you, so I can keep tabs.
Thank you.
I'm Sky. And
I'm Ford.
And these are not our real names. These are our superhero names. And with our powers combined, we form the writing partnership of L.Skyford. Welcome to L.Skyford.
So these are like shorter bite-sized episodes, so we can, put them up on Instagram and, we don't have to hit a time limit. We talk about book birthdays, which is what our episode next week will be about. Will be the February book birthdays. We'll do book notes. We've done some book reviews, so go back into our catalog, and we've reviewed Big Bad Wolf. What else have we reviewed? I can't even remember. Shipped.
Did we do Shipped? We did Shipped. We did Big Bad Wolf. We did January book birthdays in case you need some inspiration on what to read. And we're still in January, so that's that. We're definitely going to talk about the X Talk. It's coming. It's coming. We've been waiting patiently, and it's finally out.
Yeah. I'm cracking it open today, hell or high water. So that's our thing. Today we're going to just talk to each other and give you an opportunity to get to know us. And we're going to talk about the book that we wrote last year. And at the very end, we're going to reveal our book cover. So if you're not watching this episode, you're going to want to slide on over to a video player. We're on Twitch at somewhere. Oh, gosh. My computer just froze. So we're on Twitch somewhere, on Instagram.
How about I do this part?
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay, great. So we are on Twitch at L.Skyford. We're on YouTube at L.Skyford. And the same is true of our Instagram and Twitter. On Instagram, we are at L.Skyford. And on Twitter, we are at SkyfordL, just for fun.
Nothing is easy.
Nothing is easy. This and every episode is full of oversharing. You've been warned. Spoilers. And is rated E for explicit because potty mouth.
Yeah. Yes. This is a WC. Oh, word closet.
I love it. Word closet. All right, very good. A word closet. This leads very well into the words that spilled out of your word closet. See, just smoothest transition there's ever been.
Yes.
Because we're going to talk about our book. So the reason we started all of these social media things and the reason we started talking to each other, not just in the privacy of our personal chat, but for public consumption, is because we wrote a book. And we wanted to tell the world about our book, and we also really wanted to tell the world what we thought about other people's books, because as part of the learning process of writing a book, reading other people's work and highlighting it is sort of one of the really big, important things that has taken up our life in a joyful, I hope, way. It has been a joyful thing. Yeah.
Mostly joyful.
So our book is called... Please go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's a big community of other writers supporting other writers. If you follow any writer at all, you're going to see them pitching other people's books that they loved, the arcs that they read. So we're just like dipping our toe in this community and, finding our peoples.
Yes.
So
tell
them about our book.
Or I'm going to tell them about our book. So our book is called Departures, or working title, current title is
Yeah.
Departures. And it is a dual timeline love story about a bisexual dancer named Elle and an architect named Derek. We follow them in the early days of their relationship, starting with a steamy airport hookup and after a big fight that could spell the end of their relationship. The book is an exploration in relationships from their initial spark until the embers. Oh, I like that. Nice elevator pitch. So
Thank
Ford wrote the
you.
elevator pitch, and it is excellent.
Thank you very much. I mean, we've written so many query letters and Twitter things at this point that it's got a bit of a formula to it.
A little bit.
So the current status of our book is that we are looking for agents to represent us. So we're querying agents. So it's not published out. We've had some beta readers. We've submitted to some contests. So we're in that sort of no man's land, gray area of book publishing. But we're very excited about our book. We love it. We've started work on a second one, and we've kind of gone down this rabbit hole of book reviews. And at some point, we're going to come out and really get cracking on, more of the writing side of this whole thing, hopefully, right?
Definitely. Yes, I am really hoping for a writer's retreat. And by that, I mean a time when it is okay to leave my house.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
what I'm waiting for, is a time when it's okay to leave my house. And that's coming our way shortly, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes. So what we thought we'd do today is we are going to ask each other some questions, this time not about other people's books, but about our own, and get to know us as the people who wrote the book. Would you like to start, or would you like me to ask the first question?
Sure. I want to propose, should one person interview the other person doing all the questions and then we switch, or do you still
Sure.
want to alternate?
No, I think
Okay.
because I feel like mine are all lumped together, like they're all in one
Yeah.
category. So
Sure. Okay. I'm happy either way. Whichever you want to do first, I'm happy to do. Okay. Well, then I'm going to ask you questions first.
Go for it.
All right. Sky, what was the most surprising thing about writing a book or the writing process?
Okay. So I think the most surprising thing about the development of the characters, what for me was that certain parts I just knew. Like my brain just supplied a fully formed three-dimensional idea, and I did not know that my brain was waiting for permission to do so. Right? Like like my brain went from "you're not a writer" to "here are fully formed scenes," seemingly like that. Like I sort of like I gave myself permission to create it, and it started work. Like it was sourdough starter. It was my sourdough starter. I gave it a little bit of water, and it started to double in size.
That's excellent. Yes, you came in with like concept and story, and like we formed it, but you had a lot of the starter. You had the starter. I threw in a little bit of like maybe some rosemary and some salt. I made the sandwich of it later. Like I don't know how this metaphor works, but yeah, you were the impetus.
Yeah. I just thought the sourdough starter, since so many people did sourdough last year, this was my sourdough starter.
Yes, and you didn't bake bread until like last month or last week even.
Exactly.
Nice. You baked book instead. All right. Do you remember an instance, since we wrote this over the summer, like 6 months ago, where I took the book in a direction you didn't expect?
I mean, there are definitely several, and I feel like we spent a good long time discussing them after the fact. There are a couple of places. Yes, there was. I mean, Thanksgiving scene is like the scene that like there are still parts of it when I reread it that I'm like, I don't know about this, but it
Sure.
forms the story. But it like like there were parts where it was like, I don't understand why they're angry right now. Like, what is happening right this second, and why? So yes, absolutely yes. Was it surprising? Yes, because you added, particularly in the Thanksgiving scene, there is added complexity to backstory to all of our characters, and there was, we talked about some of it, like we talked about the fact that these backstories come out in this Thanksgiving dinner, but some of those backstories, it was like, oh, that's why this person is the way they are. Thinking particularly of
Mm-hmm.
Hannah. And then we
Mm-hmm.
diverged on what happens to Hannah's mom, which I thought was really great because we both
Yeah.
wrote something and it meant different things for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that is still unresolved. We're still
Yeah.
going to resolve it in book two.
Yeah. By the way, book two is about Hannah. Um, yes, the Thanksgiving scene, I remember writing it, and it was, I think the original version was 22 pages long. Like, it was a beast. It was a whole other book. We could have sold that as a short story, that expanded Thanksgiving scene. I had blocking, there was furniture moving, there were cat plates. Um, it was a lot. But I remember the feeling, I was like, oh, this is probably what childbirth feels like, because I was like sitting there and I was full of ideas, and then I just had to push them out, and it was not a comfortable process, but it happened. And it was also the last scene we really wrote, the last chapter. So it was just like, we're almost done, we're almost at the end of this, crank it out.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
I mean, for some people, that is what childbirth is like. The story is different for each birth story. Each birth story is
Sure.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what was your favorite part of writing Departures?
Uh, Showing up for it with you.
Aww.
No,
Heart,
I
heart babies.
genuinely like, there is a lot of people say, and I do not doubt it, that writing is a very solitary game, and that you spend so much of your time just in your head with these imaginary people that you would like the world to know. I am luckier than most. I already have a person who is hanging out with me in my head, who is
Yeah.
already aware of these people. And so
Mm-hmm.
even if the day's work was going to be like redlining everything on the page, I still got to see you to do it.
That's true. And we still laughed about some misspelling or some comment we made to the other person in the document. Yeah. That is that might also be my favorite part. It because this whole thing started as a joke, like an offhanded joke. It was like, well, we read all this stuff. Why don't we just write one? And then you were like, I have two ideas. And I was like, yes. And you're like, well, the cute one, the cute idea is became Departures, and then there's another idea I don't even remember anymore.
Oh, it's
And so
written
for
down.
okay, good. All right, good. So for a very long time the working title of this book was The Cute One, because it was the cute story option between us. So and you would always say, I need an outlet. I need a creative outlet. And so this became the creative outlet for, I think, both of us. And yeah, we would show up and do two or three meetings a week and for 2 hours and do this. And it was uh yeah, helped me get through the quarantine for sure. All right, what was the most frustrating or maddening part of writing or being a writer?
So far, the most frustrating part is that there are all of these hidden rules. Uh,
Mm.
and they're like, there's like a Dear Abby of writerland, and I'm sure someone somewhere slips you the memo on how to like properly do all of these things, is my assumption. And no memo has been handed to us, and so I feel constantly like I've stepped in it.
Mm.
Every step we make, someone will come along and be like, no, you're doing that particular thing wrong. And it will be like, oh, Oh, cool, 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 cool. So, and
Yeah.
that's the case with like any new endeavor, particularly one that requires a highly developed skill. So, it's a totally normal part of the process. But I, and also because it's a creative form, there is so like the answer to any question isn't cut and dry. It's always like, well, you could do this
Yeah.
or this, but really it's maybe this. But it does feel like I'm constantly breaking a rule I was not aware was a rule. So I'd like the
Yeah.
writer book, the writer how to book, and I don't mean Stephen King's on writing. I mean like how to Twitter and how to Instagram and how to be like cute and publishable and approachable and all of these things that I'm not in
Right.
real life.
But also maintain your sense of self and but put your best self on display. And like, yes, it's the social aspect, the social media aspect of it is very exhausting. And yeah, it feels like I never know if we're on the right path, but this is sort of the path we're on now for now, and we're learning from our mistakes. The people who have told us that we are being extra really frustrate me, and this is just who we are. We're two B type personalities who are A type sometimes, and we will bring it at you, and you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Ta-da! That's why
Ta-da!
my rising sign is Libra. I got two sides. Which one do you want?
Yeah, I have no excuses there because I'm a Sagittarius, smack in the middle too. So,
Mhm.
so I'm a straight arrow. I've never really thought of myself as
Yes.
such, but
No,
yeah,
you are.
I know I'm
You're
a Sagittarius through and through. I've been told.
yeah, yeah. I'm very Pisces. I have a lot of like imaginary world shit, like bits of books that I've liked create this imaginary world that I live in when I'm in a commute. Like it's a whole thing. I'm very Pisces. So that's going to work out when we get to our paranormal romance. I have
Perfect.
lots of ideas. All right, last question. So during quarantine, you were like, I need a creative outlet. Why choose writing beyond the joke thing? Why make that joke a serious thing?
I do not know that. Well, that's not entirely true. But so here is the thing. Firstly, for years and years and years, I very seriously, with full conviction, said I do not want to write a book because there are so many other people out there who are so much more clever than me that could do it so much better. So I will just read them. And like I've said this
Mm-hmm.
to people with full seriousness, and I really, really mean it. Or I did at the time. The thing about the way my creative process pours out of me, regardless of what shape it takes, is it just does. And I have learned over the years to follow it, to
Mm-hmm.
let like if the pull like if like think Donnie Darko and the tunnel of energy, follow the
Mm-hmm.
tunnel of energy, because if I don't, I get really frustrated and angry, and I like everything is wrong and nothing is the thing that I want, because I have all of this unspent creative energy that is directed in a particular way and I'm not listening to it. So it has taken me many, many years to be still enough within myself to listen to
Mm-hmm.
whatever the creative pull is. And that was the pull, that was the time, right? Like I make it sound like it was very easy, which was not the case, but that's what like my
Yeah,
creative self said, shut up, sit down and write, and I listened.
that's awesome. I like the initial like let's write a book choice, at least from my side, felt really easy. The process of writing the book was definitely not easy. So that's my perspective of it. But awesome. All right, those were all my questions, and
All
thank you
right.
for joining my TED Talk. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
All
TED
right, your
Talk,
turn.
turn it right
Ah,
over. What is the one thing you find liberating about writing fictional characters?
um, nothing is set in stone. Like we would write and write and write a thing, and then we'd come to an impasse and we'd be like, how does this work? How do we fix this thing? And we could be like, oh, well, let's just reshuffle or just change a thing in the 3 earlier chapters to make this one thing work, and it'll like that'll help the payoff. And so like, even though we would write and have a scene in the bank for a month or whatever, we could go back, change a thing to serve us now. So I feel like it is very much the same thing that I like about theater, the semi-impermanence of it. Like, the book's not published anywhere, so it's still not in stone. Like, we are going to make changes. We can still make changes to it. I think I also like it's play, right? It's you're playing at a character, and I've never like self-described as an actor. There was that one time in high school when I was a fairy in Midsummer, but like that's it. Who has raise your hand if you've been a fairy in Midsummer? Okay, just me in this conversation of two. Yeah. If hit me, DM me, hit me up if you've been a fairy in Midsummer. We all have.
Perfect. I was in a production in high school. I can relate. I just was not a fairy in Midsummer.
You would be a great Titania. Were you Titania?
No, we did not do Midsummer while I was in high school.
Oh, I thought you said you were in one. Okay, I got it.
No. I was in a show. Right, like everyone's required to be in a show. Everyone who's involved theatrically is required to be in a show on stage to experience the process. So I was in a show, but not in a Midsummer, so not a fairy.
Got it. Copy. Okay. We'll talk about that later. I need to know what this show was. Anyway, I never have self-described as being an actor or a storyteller even. Like, in my my relationship, my marriage, my husband is the storyteller and I'm the story consumer. I read, I watch the TV, I watch movies. I love consuming a story, but that has given me a point of view of what a reader is looking for. And like, so I guess to get back to your original question, what is liberating about writing fictional characters is that I'll get to read them. So I get to write something I want to read, a person I want to read.
I'm going to switch the order of these because it makes more sense.
Yeah, great.
Are Derek and Elle real people that you talk to in your head? Do you have conversations with them beyond what's on the page?
I don't really. I have tried to like flesh out their whole life in my head, like to find detailed mini moments, which I think we also have put into our book, like the moments between the big moments, to give them 3 dimension. But what I've taken away from Derek and Elle is I go out into the world, or I read a book, or I meet a person and I go, that guy's a real Derek, or, ooh, she's a real Elle. Like, I see aspects of our characters in real people. And that's just delightful to me, to like basically see mannerisms or characteristics on a real person.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Why romance? Why not write paranormal? Why are we here?
Yeah. Why are we here? I think, you had a really strong concept from the beginning about the direction of the book, which I was am excited about, was excited about even then. And in our discussions about writing paranormal, you hit the nail on the head when you said that's very daunting to come up with a whole world and a whole magic system or whatever that doesn't feel already done or even overdone. With our book, I feel like what we wrote was very genre bending. So even though it's romance, like the relationship between Derek and Elle is the central theme of the book, it's not, because there's 2 timelines and they interchange and they change perspectives, POVs. Like, we worked a lot on the structure of the book, and I feel like it's not your typical romance fare. So romance is also comfortable. And what I was excited, the point of view I was excited about in the book, writing in the book, was the side of they've been together for a decade. What does the relationship look like now? How does a relationship navigate through a horrible, gut wrenching, heart rending fight? Because I'm in a 10-year relationship, and it was sort of a little bit of therapy to process someone else's hurt, so that when those moments of like problems in our relationship that happen in any relationship come up, I have maybe more tools because I've play acted it out in our story. It's also something I haven't really read a lot of in romance, is an established relationship and navigating an established relationship. So why romance? Because it's lovely and it makes you feel good, but we also sure put it on its nose.
Yes. Um, how do you feel about writer Twitter?
I do not
Okay, what
dip.
is writer Twitter for people who don't know? And then
Yes, please. So, and you are more of a person on Twitter than I am, so please correct me when I'm wrong. Is like it's the community of writers that exist on Twitter.
But
Am I
this is
correct?
one of the, well, yes, this is one of the unspoken rules of writing, is that so much
Mm,
of writing connection now happens on Twitter, that if you
yeah.
are a writer who is not on Twitter, you're missing out. Essentially. So,
Yes.
note to all of you writers, I guess you should be on Twitter. You don't have to agree
Mm,
with me on this, but I've seen a lot of that commentary in writer community Twitter. So there's
right, because
that.
there's not really a LinkedIn for writers, so
Right.
Twitter is acting as that. Um, so my opinion of it is, I'm glad there's a community. I feel like we as L.Skyford are on the peripheral of that community. I know you do a lot of work in there, so it's I don't want to miss represent you at all. So yeah, I definitely live more in the writer Instagram, which is book birthdays, here's fun book cover art, bookstagramming. So it's a little bit more joyful, but it is still extremely daunting. Like, we follow some some Instagram writers, and they're putting out 4 books a year or something insane. And I'm just like, who are you? How do you have the time to be on your social media, write 4 books, be a parent, eat vegetables, and drink enough water a day? Like, who are you and how do you life? Um, and then I remember, oh, they probably don't have, 40-hour work weeks like I know, like we do. So it's impressive and scary.
This is an excellent lead into my final question. Um,
But
how do you deal with imposter syndrome? Because I
big
feel
drink of
like
water.
I feel like of the two of us, like I am constantly in the like bucket, like
Mhm.
just like bucket of sand in my head, and it just being like no, and
Yeah,
you are
just
the
breathing
person
into
that
a paper bag.
constantly, and you're the
Yeah.
person that shows up to be like, no, we deserve a place in the sun, and I appreciate it very much.
Huh.
But how do you do it?
How do I do that? I I think I took a little bit of a page out of your book, in that I I have a little bit of a fence in my soul about this, where I don't let myself care enough to cry about it. If that makes any sense. Like, I don't let the emotions become overwhelming. Um my robot body, my robot brain and heart have put limiters. And so I care so much, but it still doesn't feel real anyway. Like, we wrote this book, we're trying to make this book a thing, and we have this amazing book cover which makes it feel more real, but it still doesn't feel real. Does that make any sense? So I'm able to kind of disassociate. I think I don't put my whole head in the bucket. And then I try to, what's the word? Celebrate the little things. Like, there was a point where we had finished writing the book, and we went like a week and never talked about it. And I was like, you know what? We need to celebrate this. We need to pat ourselves on the back. We need to validate what we did, because otherwise we'll just keep working and we'll move on to the next thing, and we'll move on to the next thing and not take care of each other and ourselves in regards to this creative thing we did. So I guess I very rarely feel imposter syndrome because it doesn't feel real, and because I don't let myself believe. I trick myself.
Okay.
Is that helpful at all?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gives me a perspective into a how-to. Because, yeah, I mean,
being a robot.
Being a robot. All right, I got it, robot heart. I got it.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Having said all of that, should we show people this beautiful cover that Crystal made for us?
Absolutely. So this is made by Crystal Johnson, who is a lovely longtime friend of mine. Look at this beautiful thing. Ooh, I can't even. So you can find her at Crystal R.W. Johnson on Instagram and Facebook. So CrystalRWJohnson. I think it's great. It's Derek. It's L. It's New York. It's San Francisco. It's stars in the sky and grid lines on, the architectural drafting board. It has all these elements that our beautiful book does. Look at his glasses.
Yeah, so this was just an exercise in creating a cover. It's going to be on our website. It's going to be the banner for all updates about this book, and it definitely puts another period on like completing another part of this project and making it like solidifying it even further. It was great to work with Crystal to get this book cover into what we wanted at this time and how we felt about it. So this was a fun project that I'm so glad she had the bandwidth to come play with us.
Absolutely.
It was so much fun to work with her.
Right. She did it with like a 6 to 8 month old, like sitting in the little desk chair beside her, I'm sure. So I'm so honored that she took this on for us. And it's exactly what we wanted. Like she had 3 initial object designs, and we both were like the first one. And then we had like a handful of notes after that. It was one of the easiest collaborations I've ever done, and I've been collaborating for over a decade. So it feels very special. And it feels like another thing for us to celebrate. Like, look how cool our book could look if we get it out there. Yeah, I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of the book cover. I'm proud of the book. I'm proud of the baby we created together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you went to grad school, you either know that all your projects are babies or none of your projects are babies. So whichever camp you fall in, it is harder when they're babies. I feel like it breaks your heart a bit more. Yeah. But it is a thing. It is a thing.
It is a thing. So please go follow Crystal on her socials. Tell her how much you loved our book cover, because we sure have. The last time I saw her in person, and I was just like, I was at a loss of words. So, just share the love. Share the love. It's exciting. Exciting day.
It is exciting. So, if you liked this adventure and want us to ask each other other questions, follow us on socials. Let us know. I feel like at this point,
if there's a question you had that we didn't get to, semi-personal, let's please keep boundaries respectable. Or if you have any questions about the book, like comment, follow, DM, do all the things.
Yes. all of those things. Lots of for everyone.
So many
Next
so
week
many
we
ums.
are doing February book birthdays. We might sneak in a little bit of a conversation about those books if we've already read them. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm forward. You can
I'm Sky.
great. I had a thing. What was it? What's the word? Oh, there's going to be a QR code at the end of this episode, so you can follow to our link tree and go to all of our different social medias. So head that way. Thank you for watching. This has been L.Skyford Live. We hope to hear from you, and we'll see you next time. Keep reading.